So what? Oh yeah. First of all, I should say thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Lola. Thank you. Felt like I needed to have a very strong theme in mind that would also I become a woman. And I just that first. I don't know how many throughout the book was when girls growing up. It's like when this happens, you become a woman. Oh, but then when like your menses come, you're a woman. When you get married, you're a woman. When you have children, you're a woman. You know, when you have more, just it's always tomorrow.
It's amazing. So you said images that show
Disrupt what took me back in in a different way in terms of disappearance and at the same time that the Asaba really wanted.
did a really good job. And you said you're not Igbo, but your depiction of Igbo-ness was really good. Francesca.
We've had this conversation several times. So I'm going to try and include you. But if you catch me just looking at her and telling her, just my style in general, kind of at the top of I learned that. I guess that's the answer.
Okay, deeper into that, especially a lot of people felt like she has main character energy. So
some people just have main character energy.
But how did the choice to
Yes, trying to illustrate how a person might be or how a person might be in relationship based on the traumas they've experienced. Open. She doesn't share a lot. And so all of her story was told from her voice because controlling of other people, but controlling of people's access to her. So speaking from her own point of view and using her own words was very important. You don't know anything about Kehinde that she doesn't tell you. Whereas Taye is a character from just like the omniscient narrator, me, following her around and be like, and then this happened, and this happened. And she doesn't even know, but then this happened, right? Actually, I love that character so much because, hi. I really had to reach deeper. And Cambria Nachi doesn't, that gap. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You wrapped it up nicely. Iwa, I think it's because of how well you wrote them. You had a little bit too much fun, I think.
Like the cover says, try to do something different. They were like, like they did Uju's mom, and then and a particular male character, male partner inspired Uju's husband, but also I remember how I felt when I read Joys of Motherhood. And I was a teenager then, and I was like, I got to there, I was like, where's the joy? I was so people exist in real life. We know people whose mothers have pushed them into doing things they don't want to do. We know people who have this kind of partners. We know these people. So I wanted people to feel that rage.
Okay. Since you said
I love and so actually I'm working on something else.
Francesca, what about you? Do any
my character finished? So a few of them, like Wolfie, and in there for like characters do visit me, and it's challenging sometimes.
One of my favorite characters. Are there works or authors that inspired your character development? Steelers.
Character-driven stories. I love a good story. Like plot is like, yes, fine. What I'm most interested in when I'm editing was important. My editor was like, is this story about Bobby? Is this story about Kenny? What's this about? And so she really had to steer. She's like, I cut out so much. She's like, this is not a story about this person's love triangle. This is not about ties. But no, every Joys of Motherhood ruined my life. Antils of the Savannah.
I know you're born.
I'm still not okay. But yeah, and Chimamanda Adichie, Sefiata, other young Nigerian girls in Nigeria, regardless of the time, were really impactful. The two that come to mind.
We stood side by side in March of '94, arms around each other. This madam, please move closer. Pages of society. Third member of the community at times. Mama would own Uju was now a star. Church members would approach me with timid smiles to say before an expensive.
Write them. Can you take us through the book? Were there other authors you were reading at the time that might have inspired, or maybe even music?
I wanted to be Uju. I wanted to feel what was stressful. There's so many, there's several scenes in the book where I've shared this with you before. I actually cried, because I I had to, and then I had to be like, oh, you have to work. Like, you can't be like, what's doing you? So, Voices Americana. I love that book. I tell everybody, I'm like, see, everyone says I have a yellow, so I'm like, see, see Americana. That's my book. and for me, like, because growing up, you know, when we were young, like, just picking up certain books, so it's like, because it was like, so, like, just seeing, like, African authors like this, it was just so, like, it was just so important to us to just, you know, to be able to connect with anyone that's read this book. No, let's get,
I find that's at the bottom of page 49. Monday has just come home. Taya has been living at home for almost contact or talking. She's avoidant. So this is how you make mosa with your sister on the day from asking. You can do this while failing to share with your sister the fact that Banquet took it upon herself without your consent or the plantains in a bowl. Third, add the salt as your mother sifts the flour into a large stainless steel bowl.
How the characters feel. Instead, you set out to write food porn.
Rest in peace. Chef turned writer, turned world traveling TV man. And so again, just my style is very much informed by such a big thing in my life. You know, I remember being, eat more, more.
Child, do you want chicken? Because before I read your book, I had just finished reading Longchot Memoirs, and I was like, we need a fiction. This eating jollof rice and stew. Rice and stew as is saving lives. So I was so happy. The way you talked about the food, the way it was written.
I wanted to feel everything, because I think as some people, I don't know, I assume everyone, but I don't know, gave that to readers.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
This is for both.
Reach out, and obviously they don't, you know, understand some of the words and from your, you know, like I listened to her interviews, and she said she's very, so that's how it was for me.
The character has a friend, like that's possible as a reader. So like she was like, you don't need to translate anything. You don't even need to italicize non-English words. But I cringe, but there's sometimes I write Zobo hibiscus drink. I hate it. But it was the most, like, that was the most I was willing to do. Nigerian literature, like we have reading Nigerian authors and American and British, so it has been done before. I didn't have to look far to see that.
Thank you both for staying true. It's, by the way. Microphones?
I really saw the synopsis. When I read the synopsis, I immediately thought of Ake Festival's Freshwater, your influence on your book, and also and massive crush on Tai. I would like to ask, Tai is a character that's so easy to villainize because
I was like, shit, I can't read this. Oh yeah, it's fine, I have nothing to worry about. So I wasn't inspired by it, but I adore it. Complicated characters that I love is, you know, like really challenging, because you're like, I'm rooting for you, but why are you like this character? Because like, who are from the negative, fairly ambiguous? Okay, all people, regardless of their sexual orientation, character who spends that aspect of her identity is similar to Kende's straightness. It's just one aspect. What was the other question? No. No, it's not a metaphor, at least not actually believe. So I'm really interested in like the unreliable narrator, where you're like, is it really, did that happen, or are you kind of crazy, you know? Which like both can be true, I think, yeah.
Actually is effective, right? So keep that in mind as well. There's this
Advice that was really poignant. And
now chef's kiss. It's still, sometimes I go back.
Just know that. I was my readers to feel the rage, but how do I also hold space for not overwhelm them with all of that rage? Because being a woman in Africa, there has to be some form of obligation to you so that you don't.
So, and so, to feel the rage. So I've had men as well reach out to me, say, no, this, you know, sometimes he actually about this book, but that's true, you know. and Bo and Pidgin because I speak Pidgin. I love Pidgin English. Listen, like when I'm a friend abroad, a Nigerian friend, I immediately speak to Pidgin, so nobody understand what we're saying. I love it so much, And so I include they speak English. So
Still very similar, all within like cultural context, right? So when Nigerians are talking, and if they're the kind of Nigerians that will be speaking Pidgin to each other or Yoruba, like my stories are just gist, like hot gist, And so when we don't want people around us to understand us, we're here speaking English, but like most of the world doesn't speak English,
So kudos to her. So I have a question for Francesca. My friend said I should ask this question. She can't be here today, so I promised. I think she pointed something and I was like, oh, relation to Obanje, is that what he was talking about? Or did he just, she looks like or something?
Let me tell you the truth. I don't know. That's what he said. I know how that makes me sound, but that's how I write sometimes. I change it. It's fine. Like, do I know you? Some people are very inappropriate with their friends, partners. So maybe it was that. I don't really know. Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint if that's disappointing.
That's why I call it a conspiracy theory. There are lots. There are lots more. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for attending our chat.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause again.